What's up guys, Jack here, I'm at Tech Videos. We are just a few weeks away from Apple announcing the next iPhones, the 16 and 16 Pros, along with new versions of the Apple Watch and some new AirPods at their annual September event, which has just been announced. It's Glow Time, the event is called, and it is happening on September 9th. And I thought that we could take some time to talk about some rumours, some things that we can expect to see, and a little wish list of new features as well. So let me know in the comments anything you're hoping for. Take these with a pinch of salt, as nothing is official yet. This is all speculation based off of reports shared by some Apple news blogs. So let's start first with the new AirPods. There's a pretty good chance that we could see the next gen of AirPods at the event. The AirPods 3 came out quite a while back in October 2021, and there's actually two new models of the AirPods 4 expected, both of which at different price points. They'll allegedly both be getting a redesign with shorter stems similar to the AirPods Pro, along with an updated fit and some general improvements to sound quality. With a new design, I think that it's safe to assume we'll probably get a redesigned case to go with, maybe with like integrated speakers that support Find My Alerts, and of course USB-C to replace the Lightning port, both of which came to the AirPods Pro in their last refresh. Then for this new higher end model, that is expected to have active noise cancellation for the first time on the standard AirPods, but at a more affordable price than the AirPods Pro, kind of filling the gap between them. They also won't have the silicone tips from the Pros. I know that a couple of my friends don't like the feeling of those, so if that's you, then in this new version, you might be able to get active noise cancellation without the silicone tips at a lower price point. As for the AirPods Pro, well, we're about midway through the cycle on the current second gen based on Pro releases. They actually had a little tiny refresh last September, with the only new feature now allowing them to support lossless audio with the Apple Vision Pro, as well as switching to USB-C on the charge case. So I'd say there's a pretty minimal chance that we'll see a new version at the September event. I think 2025 is probably going to be more likely, maybe with some design tweaks, a potential H3 chip, along with improved audio. Apple was recently awarded a pretty interesting patent showing an AirPods case with a built-in touchscreen to let you control playback or interact with connected apps. Kind of a cool concept, almost like taking us back to the iPod days if it had some built-in storage for music. Patents don't always mean, of course, that it is coming to a product, but it is interesting to see like how Apple is exploring where the AirPods could go in future. But for the current Pros, there is some good stuff to look forward to with the new features in iOS 18. You'll be able to respond to Siri notifications with a new head gesture, like nodding to answer a call or shaking your head to decline. Voice isolation will cut down loud background noise when you're on a call, so the person on the other end can hear you more clearly. That's a biggie because you can always kind of tell when someone is on AirPods. They let in quite a lot of background noise, so looking forward to that. Personalized spatial audio is coming to games now, a feature that we already have for movies and TV shows and music. Now developers can build that into their games. And also we'll get lower latency in game mode on the iPhone and iPad, meaning there's less audio delay with fast action on screen. So some great new software features coming soon. Next we come to the AirPods Max, and these are well overdue a refresh. It has been over 3 years since they were first introduced, and they've never had an update. So we could see a new second gen get announced at the September event. But all of the rumors at this point are pointing to a very minimal upgrade. They'll be keeping the same design, which I do quite like. I think they look pretty great. But I would like to see a redesigned carry case that actually offers some protection, considering these are like 500 quid headphones. They'll also apparently be keeping the same H1 chip. They won't get the H2 that was introduced with the AirPods Pro, and that allows for improved active noise cancellation, better adaptive transparency mode, and enhanced sound quality. Not sure how reliable that rumor is, as it seems like a no-brainer to give them the newer chip, or even introduce the H3, as these are meant to be Apple's top-of-the-line headphones. The only alleged changes will come with some new color options and switching out the Lightning port for USB-C to unify them with the rest of the AirPods line, as well as the iPhone, which made the switch last year. It's possible they'll support Bluetooth 5.3, and I'd love to see them get the U2 chip, allowing for precision finding in the Find My app. I'm hoping that we get some more substantial upgrades, as I'd really like to give these another go, but the AirPods Max just don't seem like a priority for Apple right now. Next up, let's talk about the Apple Watch Series 10, or maybe it'll be a 10 with an X like the iPhone. Apple analyst Ming-Chi Kuo suggests that the Series 10 is going to have a thinner body and larger screen sizes, also backed up by Bloomberg's Mark Gurman, with the new watch supposedly coming in 45 and 49mm sizes, up from the current 41 and 45mm options, which means that the current larger Apple Watch is going to be the new smaller size. Not good news if you like the smaller body, with the 49mm being about as large as the Apple Watch Ultra, maybe even having a slightly larger 2-inch display. I never switched to the Ultra. I kind of prefer the more sleek look you get on the standard Apple Watch. It's easier to sort of like dress it up or dress it down and wear it more casually. And the Ultra is, a bit of a chonk with that thick, durable case. That said, I do like its larger screen, so I'd be interested to see how that looks on the Series 10 if it happens. The next Gen 10 is also reported to use resin-coated copper, which would allow for a thinner logic board, meaning there's more internal space for other components. Maybe we'll see a larger battery. That would be very welcome. Now, previously, Mark Gurman reported that Apple is working on a new magnetic band attachment system to free up space inside the watch. If you look at the current slide and lock design, it eats into a decent chunk of the body, so a new magnetic lock system could potentially solve that, and that would mark a pretty big design change for the 10th gen Apple Watch. But in more recent reports, it's been suggested that a new band system isn't coming just yet, so we'll have to wait and see. We could also see it get a new faster S10 chip and new health features for detecting hypertension and sleep apnea. Although for the latter, that relies on blood oxygen monitoring, which Apple has had to temporarily remove from the Apple Watch in the US due to a patent dispute. So again, that could be up in the air at the moment. I'm still rocking my trusty Series 5, which is getting kind of slow and laggy, and it can barely last a day with lots of activity. So I am definitely looking to upgrade to a Series 10. And if they are going to change the band system, I was kind of hoping that they do it sooner rather than later, because I don't want to be, stuck with the old system going forward over the next few years. I think it's inevitable that it will change at some point, which would likely mean that any existing bands won't be compatible. As for a new Ultra model, Mark Gurman reports that any new model will have roughly the same look as the original, with no significant design changes. And it's expected to include a faster chip and any new health features introduced on the Series 10. The Ultra still only comes in one colour finish, so I'd like to see another option there. I think it could look pretty slick in like a nice darker tone with the orange button accents. And that's something we've heard rumours of before. Then that brings us to the new iPhone, Apple's biggest announcement of the year with the 16 and 16 Pro. One of the ways that Apple differentiates between the standard iPhone and the Pro phones is by using the chip. The current 15 uses a A16 Bionic, with the Pro phones having a faster A17 Pro. Well, some code in the iOS beta seems to hint that both phones this year will get the same chip, but different versions of it, presumably the A18 and A18 Pro, both featuring an upgraded neural engine for Apple Intelligence to come to both phones and not just the 16 Pro. Unlike with the current gen, where only the 15 Pro is getting Apple Intelligence. But I can see them giving the A18 Pro more CPU or GPU cores for better performance overall, and also to maintain a distinction between them. I'd also expect a bump up from 6 to 8 gigs of RAM to match the Pro phones, and again to help with AI performance, which does require a fair amount of memory when it's running on device. For the iPhone 16, it's looking like we'll get the same general design, the same flat sides and dynamic island, and it's about time that the standard iPhone got a display bump from 60 to 100 Hz. Maybe this is finally the year where it actually happens. It's safe to assume we'll get some new colours. I'm hoping that we move away from the pastels and go for a more bold and brighter options. If you can't tell, I like the colour orange. So Apple, I would love an orange iPhone to match the vibe. Other reports suggest that the iPhone 16 is getting the action button introduced on the 15 Pros last year, replacing the mute switch with a customizable button, which makes a lot of sense. I can definitely see that trickling down to the standard iPhone like we saw with the dynamic island. And also reports that we're going to go back to a vertically aligned camera system like the iPhone 12, but with a more pill-shaped camera bump like we saw on the iPhone 10. Why? Well, firstly, I'm sure that there's something you can say about Apple deliberately changing up the designs to make that version of the iPhone visibly recognizable as the new one. but more than that, it's to support spatial video. The 15 Pro's got an update allowing them to record spatial video using both the main and ultra-wide cameras for capturing stereoscopic 3D video that you can then view on the Apple Vision Pro. But that requires those two cameras to be aligned and level when you're holding the phone in landscape. Otherwise, with a diagonal layout, there's going to be like a slight perspective shift and it's just not going to look right. Don't know how many of you guys own a Vision Pro or even care about spatial video, but I guess the more devices that are out there that can record it, the better it's going to be going forward if the Vision Pro line takes off in future. You can start capturing your memories now in spatial video and view them later. There's no expected changes for the iPhone 16 main camera. It will keep the same 48 megapixel sensor with the f1.6 aperture, but the ultra wide will reportedly go from an f2.4 to an f2.2 for better low light performance. Then perhaps my favorite rumor is that the 16 and 16 Pros are supposedly getting a new button called the capture button. It will sit on the right side of the phone, just below where the power button is, and it will be able to respond to both pressure as well as touch. So a light half press will trigger autofocus when you're capturing a video or a photo, with a harder full press taking the photo, like the shutter button on a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. It'll be a long button shape like the power button, and it's rumoured to be able to detect gestures, so maybe you could use it to like slide your finger left and right to zoom in and out, or switch between capture modes in the camera app. And I'm looking forward to this. This is exactly what I was hoping that the action button would be when that was introduced. But in practice, it's awkward to reach and it's not an easy button to press without like moving the phone. So I am looking forward to getting this. I'm also hoping that we can use it anywhere in iOS to launch the camera with an API so that third-party camera apps can also use it. I take so many photos on my iPhone. It is fair to say that it's my main camera. I take it everywhere. So I'm very much looking forward to this rumor and I'm hoping that it's true. Then to talk about some 16 Pro and Pro Max specifics, they're likely going to keep the same titanium design introduced last year with the slightly rounded edges, but they'll both be ever so slightly taller with longer displays. I love the big screen on the Pro Max, but it is already a massive phone, so I don't personally want it to get too much bigger, but making it taller would give us more screen space without affecting the width and what it's like to actually hold in the hand. And I'll be very happy if that means we can get another row of app icons on the home screen. Other potential changes see the ultra-wide camera getting bumped up from 12 to 48 megapixels, matching the main camera for high-res photos, which could also allow for 4K spatial video capture, which is currently limited to 1080p. With the 16 Pro also inheriting the 5x tele camera. It won't just be on the Max. Every year Apple does a new Pro color, and this time around, it could be like a rose gold titanium with more of like a bronze tone to it to replace the blue. I always just go for like the black or white or the natural titanium, which all seem to be sticking around this time, but I don't know, maybe I'll change it up this time. In terms of battery life, it's reported that every new iPhone is going to get a capacity bump, except for the poor 16 Plus, which is going to get quite a bit smaller by almost 10%, maybe as a move to push more people towards the Pros. With the A18 Pro chip, the capture button, the increased battery life, there's not a huge amount of rumoured upgrades for the Pro. Maybe there are some like secrets that, will be revealed next month, but overall it's shaping up to be a fairly modest upgrade. I think that Apple's going to be banking on people upgrading to get access to the new Apple Intelligence features with the new version of Siri, especially people on like much older iPhones. But even that is not going to be available at launch, not until the iOS 18.1 update. It's not looking like we're going to see any sort of foldable iPhone from Apple soon. If I had to guess, I'd say next September at the very earliest, but honestly, I think 2026 is more realistic. If they ever do release one, it's going to be interesting to see what approach they take. I think for me, I would rather have a flip style iPhone, as I don't particularly want like a massive fold out phone, and I'd rather have more of like a fold like design for an iPad. But all of that is further down the line, so we'll talk about that in due course. As for anyone looking out for the new iPhone SE, the 4th gen is expected to feature a design similar to the iPhone 14, with a full screen design and notch, an updated A-series chip, a new camera, and more. But there's no updated SE expected this year. It's looking more likely to drop in 2025. So that is all of the main things that we can expect to see from Apple in the next month. Let me know what you're waiting for down in the comments. If you're watching in the future, you can let me know what rumours turned out to be true. The event is just around the corner on September 9th, so not too long to wait, with the new Apple Watch and the iPhone 16s possibly available on the 20th. Until then, iOS 18 will launch sometime in between, so go check out my video on that if you want to see all of the top new features. Hit like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe and hit the bell to see more tech videos from me. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.